Kevin from Pork Pie Hatters. We're going to talk to you today about changing the shape of your fedora, going from one shape, let's say a pork pie, and switching it up to something different, like, I don't know, the teardrop, or perhaps something simpler like the center crease, just a crease on the top with pinches in the front, you know. Now, there's all different types of shapings, and sometimes a person will come to you and they'll just want a different shaping. Maybe the shape on the hat just doesn't enhance it. So this is basically, we'll be changing it. What you're going to need is a source of steam, okay? Something head-shaped like this here. You could use a mannequin head if it's nice and heavy and round on top. I use this steel antique hat stretcher, which you can get on eBay, but sometimes they're a little pricey, like, you know, over 100 or something or more. But they work really nice. Anything like that. This is a hat block. You can just look it up, wooden hat block, and you want the shape that looks like this, round. Okay? But this works the best for me. Okay, so we're going to start with this pork pie. I think I made this pork pie in another one of these videos. What we're going to do is we're going to take out the shape. Okay? First thing that I like to do is just clean the felt with a little tape before I steam it. Just get all the dust off. This one's pretty good. Okay. Now we're going to steam that shape out. So what I want to do is rub my fingers on the inside of the hat where the shape is, back and forth, and just try to, I don't know, kind of rub away those indentations as you soak it with steam. You want to soak on the place that it's creased, before it, after it, and on it. So that whole area gets saturated with steam. I'm going around the hat, from the top, center here, all the way out, all the way out, all the way out. You want to blend away that shape. You're doing it a little with your fingers here on the inside, but you're mainly going to do it with this hat shape. Okay. This is not a great steamer, so I'm doing a lot. Now, I'm doing, I don't want to stretch out the hat. Unless you like a really high crown and you want your crown higher, then you can stretch it. And it's cool. Just be careful not to mess the brim up. What we want to do is hold it nice, a lot of pressure on that round surface, and let it dry on it. And those shapes will go away. Maybe not perfectly, but mostly. Okay? Most of this is going to be within the shape anyway, so that part doesn't have to be perfect, but if you want to get a good shape, you should start with a nice round, symmetrical crown. Okay, you don't want dents on the side either. You want the sides to be nice and straight. Soak the sides up. Get rid of the creases again first while it's hot. And we'll do the sides. Okay. Now, how to choose a shape. Okay, a short brim like this is a 2-inch, short to medium brim. I usually don't like a teardrop. I only like a teardrop on wider hats, and it's pretty traditional not to use a teardrop. Generally, it's the center crease with 2 pinches in the front, a pork pie, or a diamond crease. That's the real big ones. You know, there are other things too you could choose. I'm going to go with the center crease, but remember, there's all sorts of variants too. The center crease, I think, will enhance this hat because it's got a very high crown, and I want to keep it high. I think it gives it an authenticity, like an old-fashioned vintage hat, and I want to enhance the highness of the crown. Plus, I like the simplicity of just one crease and pinches. I think it's the most classic. It's a cliche, but less is more, you know. Okay. Start on the top, the bullseye, 2 thumbs down. and go separate ways, the front and the back of the crown. So I'll wind up like this. Okay, look at it from a bird's eye view. You can straighten out the shape inside, just to correct anything that's a little off. Okay, you can still see the line a little bit from the pork pie, so I'm kind of still rubbing that part here with the fingers. Alright, now I'm keeping this crease nice and high. I don't want to go too low, so I want to keep a higher crown. Alright, let's make the pinches, make sure I'm doing it in the right spot, the front of the hat, not the back. You want to pinch the front. Those are going to cover most of those lines too. There's a shadow from the old shaping. It's going to stay covered. Okay. Got 2 fingers on the inside of the hat, right over here. And I've got other fingers right out here to support the hat. Bird's eye view, I could spread it that way. It tends to come together while you shape them, so you open it up again. And it did still remain a little of that old shaping, so I'm still getting rid of it on the other side now too. Press it against the table. It's a flat surface. Okay, that works very well. To the other side like that. Flattening out the old crease that was there from the pork pie. Okay, very good. Pretty happy with that. Now, is it symmetrical? Not perfectly. So here's where I can correct things. And get things, just shift them over. It's still a little bit wet, so you get everything perfect. Do your final touches. Sometimes I like to bring the brim down just to see how it looks, you know, up, down. Okay, I like it high. I like this nice sort of triangle shape there. Tight pinch, they call that. The front coming together a little bit more. Tight pinch in the front. Centered crease going nice and high. Alright. That just looks better. It's a much better looking hat. Alright, moving on. This is a big floppy 3-inch brim. Now the 3-inch brim has a teardrop, which I just think doesn't work. Okay? To me, this is a really big kind of a 70s floppy hat. For instance, you could wear it kind of like this here. Kind of like a cool 70s rock star wizard kind of vibe. You know, or you could flip the back up and do something a little bit more like a zoot suit or a very bold fedora look with a high crown, very Italian. You know, like the Borsellino kind of look. You know, or you could go all the way brim up, which is a very edgy kind of thing you might see in GQ magazine, which is great. This hat does pretty much all 3 well, but the teardrop looks too retro. I don't like the flat back. I like the back to have more of an M shape like this hat, which is just more graceful, softer looking. Yeah, this has got just a boxy looking crease, hand creased. It's alright. To me it looks just too 42nd Street or Guys and Dolls. So we'll get rid of that. Okay, same thing. We're going to just open it up. Just kind of rolling my fist around the crown of the hat and punching out the different parts of the shape while I steam it. This hat is pretty dust free, so I didn't really need to dust it. But it's a good idea to do it anyway, just to make sure. I like to steam a dusty hat. Alright. Now, we really should steam these a little bit more, but I don't want to waste too much time. It depends on how hot your steamer is. If you have a weaker steamer, you know, it's not going to really go fast. You have to sit here and let it saturate a little bit. Not too much, but just make sure everything is soft, you know. And it should be warm to the touch, too. That helps. Alright. Stretching it over that top. Okay, shape is pretty much gone. It's open crown, just round, which looks cool as is. It's got almost a Jimi Hendrix look. That's not the worst thing. I might even leave it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to straighten out the brim. Alright, so what we're going to do is just soak the brim. We'll treat it in halves. The back side of the brim, basically the back, and then the back of the sides. Just the back half of the hat. We're going to just soak the whole brim, the edge of the brim, and then a little further in also. Just get it all. And I'm going to go against the tabletop and use that as a straight edge, just the weight of the hat itself. And you'll see the hat will just make a nice arch and turn into a nice kind of circular, right into place. Sometimes you got to just run your fingers along the brim and just guide it so that everything is touching that flat surface, and hold it there for a second so that it dries in that flat shape. And what happens is it dries just, really straight as an arrow. Sometimes it takes longer. You got to do 2 or 3 times. Again, depends on how hot your steam is, and it definitely depends on how good your felt is. And also, the best felt in the world, you can only do this a certain amount of time. This has got to be, between, 100 times I've done this, maybe 100 and 200 times. Hard to say, but it's a very old hat. I've had it for, at least a decade and a half or something. And, there are things that have to be done to hats when they start getting very old. Sometimes you need to stiffen them a little bit. They get overly soft. And, it depends on how picky you are, too. If you like a hat that's just a little bit weathered or hand creased, then that's okay to let it go for a little longer. But it's good to change the ribbon, change the lining on the inside if you have one, and even the leather sweatband. Because if it's good felt, the felt will live on, but these things, they touch the head, make contact with the body, so they eventually can have perspiration or salt. And if you keep changing these ribbons, sweatbands, linings, basically the felt itself will never get any of that in it. It just lives on. Okay, I like this hat. You can also just give it a crease maybe on the top. That might hide some of those creases there, I think. So let's give it just a simple crease. I think it'll also lower the height of the hat and give it a similar, feel. Okay, so let's do it over here. Just a crease. See, that's nice. All right. Number 2. Here's number 3. Number 3 is a 2.5-inch brim like I'm wearing. Okay, it's bigger than the first hat, which was a 2. Not as big as the last one, which was a 3, the burgundy one. This is a 2.5. It's also got a teardrop. I don't know. The teardrop I like, but I think it can use some shaping up. If I want these lines to be sharper, I can soak that with steam and then just pinch them very hard and hold it. But always do that last. You don't want to do the brim after that because, you don't want the steam to make that open up again. I think this hat can use a band and a little bit more definition. So I'm going to steam it right along the edge of the creases there. I'm going to try to enhance the teardrop a little bit. Using a lot of pressure and holding it. Okay. That's the line I just made right there. You can see it's sharp and sculpted looking. The other side is just kind of, Alright. Now we do the other side. Now we have to make sure we keep the steam away from the part we just steamed. We don't want to really hit that because it'll make it open up again. You want to keep that sharp crease. Don't let the steam hit it. Just steam the other part, keep the steam away from the first crease. Okay, just holding it very hard. Alright, that and that. I just did the 2 lines. Boom, boom. Alright. I think this area here can be sharper. Again, we've got to keep the steam away. Should really have done that part last. Okay. And the back. pinching like really hard as I can there. Okay. Right, this is very thick felt. I don't know, maybe that's not the worst shape. I think this hat just really needs a band badly. So maybe we'll get back to that band, to that hat. And we'll just straighten the brim a little now. I see a wave, so I'm going to hit that wave all around it with some steam and use the straight edge right over here. And my fingers along the bottom side of the brim, barely pressing down, just making sure everything touches. I could guide it with my palm, but try not to touch the edge of the brim. So the straight edge is much smoother looking than your fingertips. If you use your fingertips to straighten the brim, you're going to make ripples all over the place. It's better off just using the edge of the table. That's my opinion, but it's also the way I learned. Everybody's got their technique. Alright, I'm going to leave it alone because I don't want the steam to undo any of this stuff. I think the brim is fine. It's got a good snap in the back and the front. This particular hat, being a 2.5-inch brim with a high crown, I think lends itself to a teardrop because it's a nostalgic kind of a cut. I've got a 2.5 here. That's like, you know, what Humphrey Bogart wore. It's like a sort of classic film noir detective, you know, or cool fedora. So basically, that's how to do it. Next, we'll put a band on this. Take care, Porcupine Hatters.